Welcome to Techstination. Joining us is Finley Lee, the CEO of Alien Skin Software. Thanks for joining us, Finley.
Thanks for having me, Fred.
For people who aren't familiar with Alien Skin, once again, let's talk about a little bit of the background of the company.
Sure thing. Alien Skin is a company that started out as a maker of Photoshop plugins. And our first product was a pretty popular Photoshop plugin called Eye Candy, which is used by graphic designers even today. Around in the 2000s, we got interested in photography and started creating photography plugins. And our most successful photography plugin is Exposure, which in recent years has turned from just a plugin into a standalone application that you can use to edit all of your photos and do photo management as well.
And the latest version is called Exposure X4. Give us an overview of what's brand new here.
Absolutely. The thing that we paid a lot of attention to in Exposure X4 was improving raw processing. And so you'll find that with the X4 version, you'll be able to get a lot more detail in the highlights and shadows of your images as you're processing in Exposure, which allows you to take images that maybe weren't shot with ideal exposures and get usable and, in fact, excellent results out of them. So that's the main new feature. We also have a number of others, including adding transform tools, which allow you to correct perspectives, like keystoning in landscape photography. Another exciting feature is movable light effects, and we've had a lot of great feedback about this feature. You can add light overlays to your images in Exposure, and people really liked them but wanted to have the flexibility to put them wherever they wanted on their image. So now with Exposure X4, you can take those light overlays and arrange them and rotate them anywhere you'd like for a much more flexible set of creative looks.
And one of the things that you've done for a long time is allow people to sort of emulate the different films that have been available over the years?
Absolutely. That's a core aspect of Exposure. It's really a raw editor that was designed with a pretty demanding task at its core, and that's the emulation of film. And so in Exposure, you can really get a lot of warm analog looks that are reminiscent of those old film stocks. It also has probably the most sophisticated grain engine of any photo editor that's out there. We really spent a lot of time looking at pictures of grain that were taken by an electron microscope to make sure that we had the characteristic shapes of those grains exactly right in Exposure's emulations.
And how many are there now altogether?
We have over 500. I usually say we have 500 looks in Exposure. That includes presets that are not film emulations. So I don't have an exact number in there, but you're not going to run out. There's a ton, which is a great way to experiment with creative looks. I mean, you can just go through there with a particular photo and try out different photo looks, and sometimes go in a completely unexpected creative direction with your edit. It's really neat.
And Exposure isn't the only product that you have out there. You mentioned Eye Candy, but there are others as well.
Yeah, that's correct. We have 3 photography tools that are sold together as the Exposure bundle. And Exposure is the center of the Exposure bundle, but it also comes with Blow Up, which is a tool for doing very high quality resizing of images. And then there is Snap Art, which is a tool that allows you to convert photos into beautiful works of art, like oil paint or watercolor. And the combination of those 3 tools together in the Exposure bundle is a really powerful photography package.
Also, one of the keys that I think makes Exposure so popular is the speed with which you see the results when you want to see the different effects or the different emulations. It's more or less instantaneous. How do you accomplish that?
We really designed Exposure to be fast. And that's fast both in the processing of images, which is pretty much instantaneous. When you're looking at that list of presets in Exposure, all you have to do is hover your mouse over the one that you want to try out, basically, and the photo will instantly update so that you can very quickly get that creative feedback and make a decision. But speed plays into other parts of Exposure's design as well. For example, when you want to work on a new set of images, all you have to do is navigate to them using Exposure's folder viewer, and you're immediately editing. You don't have to go through any kind of a time-consuming import process to start working. So we've tried to think about speed both in terms of just the raw image processing speed and power, and also the workflow efficiency of not forcing you to go through unnecessary steps.
And you're used by many professionals and photo enthusiasts as well. Tell us essentially through the workflow here what they can expect from Exposure when it comes to editing photographs. What can you do? What can't you do?
Well, Exposure is these days a very full-featured photo manager, and we have many folks who are both professional and advanced amateur photographers using it to manage their entire workflow. So you can expect to be able to do image categorization, like giving a certain number of stars or adding a keyword to an image. New in Exposure is the ability to do smart collections, which are a great way of automatically grouping your images in ways that you've set up. And of course, you can do full feature editing as well. Exposure has the same capabilities that you'll find in most other image editing packages out there, in addition to its huge library of wonderful presets and ability to do special effects like bokeh and overlays and film grain, which you won't find in other places. The places where you might have to go outside of Exposure, Exposure can do some portrait photo editing, although for very advanced work, you might want to go out to another tool like Photoshop. And Exposure is really good about working well with other tools. You can launch Photoshop as an external editor in Exposure, and Exposure will easily read PSD images. So if you need other tools in your workflow, Exposure is very happy to work with them.
Tell us about pricing.
You can buy Exposure New for $149, and the Exposure bundle is $199. And we have special pricing for owners of any previous version of Exposure, $99 upgrades from any version of Exposure from Exposure 1 on.
Which makes it really affordable considering all of the capability that you're giving your users. Tell us about availability, where people go to get it, and for more info.
You can get more information and purchase, including you can do a 30-day trial also at our website, www.alienskin.com.
And we've asked you before, I think, but go through it again for us. For people who wonder where the name Alien Skin comes from.
Sure. In the early days of Alien Skin software, we had a product which was for creating textures. And these textures could be used for any purpose. They were tileable, so you could make them expand to cover over a large area. But some of the textures looked like alien skin, and so we were really taken with the name, and that became the name of the company, and the rest was history.
And for more info, we can head to alienskin.com. Finley Lee, thank you for taking the time with us.
Thank you, Fred.
Now this. How many companies out there have continued to innovate when it comes to building a better radio? I'm Fred Fishkin, host of Techstination, and I'm here to tell you about the new CC Skywave SSB radio from the wonderful people at C. Crane. Bob and his crew really love radio, and it shows in this new compact model that is packed with features. Beyond great AM and FM reception and sound, you can tune into shortwave signals from around the world, listen to ham radio operators, aviation, and more. It's the radio you'll turn to every day, and in emergencies. It will run for nearly 3 days on just 2 AA batteries. Pair the sleep timer with the new Soft Speaker 3, and you've got the perfect radio for your nightstand. Of course, it can wake you up too. Click on C. Crane at Techstination.com and put in the code Techstination for a free flashlight with your order. They love radio, and you'll love C. Crane.